Hello, my wonderful friends. I so enjoy spending this time with you. And I wanted to share my thoughts on an important life skill that you will be tapping on again and again, and that is of ingenuity. And unlike what most people think, that either you're born with it or you don't, we all have it to some degree. Unfortunately, typically, most folks don't tend to use it until something goes skidding and hitting the wall and their tails are on fire, which it can still work then, but I want to share with you why it has many benefits and why it is a good idea to begin to hone this. So, as I said to you, ingenuity is something that we all have to a varying degree. And one of the major benefits that it has is that it will keep your mental dexterity even as you age. So consider that when you're thinking of resolving a problem, you can get stuck in thinking in only one way. In order to grow this and the mental dexterity, is imagine trying to solve a problem or even to create something with one of the elements or things that you would usually rely on not being there. So this is not to create chaos, but it's better to do it this way because you can think of different scenarios. It forces you to take another vantage point to what you're working on and begin to think about what could take the place of this resource. What is another way of approaching this issue if what I was counting on before, if some or all of it just plain isn't there, or sometimes even if it is, life can come at you and you have to think on your feet. So when you begin to do this, you actually begin to see more than one possibility of how to resolve a problem or an issue. And I recommend starting with small things. In other words, don't go if it's something major in your life and creating unnecessary chaos. So it can even be something as simple as I'm going to a destination, I'm driving, and what would happen if this major road were closed? What would be another avenue that I could use to be able to get to point A to point B? And you might serve you when there's a car accident or inclement weather. Or say, for example, there's a project that you're trying to finish. And say one of the critical elements, or even I always say one of the smaller elements, pick one, doesn't really matter, is not readily available. And from there, having to really use your imagination, and again, this ingenuity, as to what else can be used instead of the original resource or what have you. So what's really neat is you begin to think of replacements. So for me, this happens a lot with cooking, where I have something planned in mind and I open the pantry and what I thought was a box of certain spices turns out to be a box of, say, noodles or whatever. Like, oh, nuts. So I could either scrap the whole idea, and usually I don't have that option, or put on my thinking cap and use the abilities of my taste buds to think of what type of other mixes I can use to replace, be a substitute for the original idea. So what happens is that when you begin to use this again for smaller things, and then even you graduate to bigger things, the one major benefit I find from this is that you develop so much more confidence because you're not stuck. You're not stuck with one way of doing things. You begin developing, as you experiment, the self-reliance that, hey, if this doesn't work, if suddenly I'm cut short on time for whatever reason, I already know different ways of thinking and looking at a problem or situation that can help me in this period of time and have a successful outcome. So what happens is that the unknown becomes a lot less scary, and you actually begin looking forward to it. I know it sounds nuts. You're like, yeah, Skyfire, sure. Trust me, it does work. So it comes to the point where you begin intentionally, and I'll do it myself a lot of times, like say if I'm driving and, well, what happens if I go down this road, to go to a certain destination? And what the nicest things have happened where is I discover new places and new shops. I can't say new civilizations. It's not a starship, although sometimes I wish it was. That I never would have found had I gone, clippity-clop down the same old road that way. When I intentionally delete something out and I experiment, does it always work? No. However, it's exciting where I've developed different combinations, whether it be with my sculpting, with my cooking, even when I'm trying to go out there experimenting with my geocaching, whatever, different tactics or strategies that feels wonderful. Once again, things that I originally would not have thought of had I not stretched my imagination, had I not pushed my mental capacity. So don't get me wrong, this is not something that you want to do when you're already stressed out to the nines. You don't need more stress in your life. But try it with smaller things, little things. And will they fail? Sometimes, yes, they will. But the more that you use, again, that mental dexterity, really thinking about what combination of resources, what combination of strategies can work, you become more and more nimble. And again, Ingenuity is the one that helps for you to really initiate solutions. It helps for you to have that sense of adventure, of trying something that you have never tried before, to boldly go. And with that, life becomes more exciting. It really does. You get broken out of ruts. You begin to see things through other people's eyes. You begin to see different aspects of things and relationships that you have not had before because you're engaging them in novel ways. So it's a wonderful way to really wake yourself up. You don't have to shake yourself up. That's the difference. So that when life does throw you a curveball, you're like, oh, okay, I know I can handle that. And even if you don't make it all the way, it's like that old saying, if you shoot for the moon and miss, at least you'll be amongst the stars. And so, my friends, I will be sharing more and more thoughts. And I wanted to reinforce that starting the end of summer, beginning of autumn, I'm looking to launch one, if not two channels. One will be on meditations. So if you have any thoughts of meditations you'd like for me to do. And the second one will be on mini lessons, just little topics here and there, different thoughts about how you can develop different things like your intuition, communicating with spirit guides and so forth. But again, little mini lessons. So any suggestions, I appreciate them. If you found this video useful, please give it a like. And if you want to, and it would really help me, subscribe. So until the next time that we see each other, I hope that you find new, fun, and ingenious ways of doing routine stuff. That way you develop this life skill and you can more participate with life in a dynamic, eyes wide open, and ready to go style. Until we speak again, my friends, Wanishi, and the brightest blessings to you and yours. Until then.